Welcome once again. By the grace of God, we have come to the very last presentation on families. I mean, there's a lot to cover. And I hope that you have been encouraged to read the Word of God. And then to go to books like this one, Adventist Home, or perhaps Child Guidance, and the testimonies, and some other articles that have been written for us. Because there's a lot of information that we were not able even to mention. But I want you to read all that God has given us and then follow His counsel. I mean, you and I will be rewarded by being faithful to what God says. You know, Satan hates us. And he hates us because Jesus loves us. He sees that we are sinful, fallen human beings, that we cannot save ourselves. There's nothing that you and I can do to save ourselves, not even to forgive one little tiny sin. However, we are receiving the mercy of God. The grace of God has been on us, and that grace has appeared to all men. And because of that, because we are the center of that wonderful and marvelous love, He hates us. But in a special way, He hates our children like we have no idea. Imagine what happened in Moses' day. There was a death decree against little boys. Satan knew that God was about to raise the deliverer. And he wanted to wipe out that deliverer so the people of God were to remain slaves in Egypt. But God said, nope, it's time for my people to go. There was a prophecy that was about to be fulfilled. You can read it there in Exodus 12. It was time for the people to be set free. The promise made to Abraham was about to be fulfilled. And Satan knew it because he reads the Bible not to be transformed by the power of it, but to contradict and try to undo God's work. So there was a death decree against little boys. And many of them, we have no idea how many, but many of them died. Perhaps Moses was saved because God had a special work for him to do, and God knew that the home that he was born in was going to be a home that was going to prepare him to be a mighty man of God. Imagine, today Moses is already in heaven, and he has been there for 300 or 3,000 years or more. He was prepared by a godly father and a godly mother. By the way, they were slaves, poor people, nothing. Even the work that they were doing, they were not being paid for it. Slave. Out of that slave home came Moses, is in heaven, came Aaron, the first high priest, and Miriam, a prophetess. So you and I have no excuse, because we have more, much more, that Moses' family had. Not only that, we have more knowledge, we have freedom, we cannot complain. We have been blessed. We are to do the same work that family, by the grace of God, was able to do. Then it was time for Jesus to be born. And once again, Satan decreed that all little boys, 2 years or younger, they were supposed to die. And once again, thousands of them died for no reason whatsoever. However, there's another death decree that is coming. That's in Revelation 13, verse 16. There says that it causes all, small and great. Small means children. So in that list that Satan has, that he's hoping that everyone will be on that list, and then the mark of the beast will be placed on their forehead or their right arm. And if we don't obey that mark of the beast, there will be a death decree again. And those who are as number one target in that list are small. That means boys and also girls. He's trying once again to wipe out as many children as he can. That's why we have abortion on demand. That's why abortion has been legalized, because before they're born, there's a death decree against them already. And imagine every minute, every second and a half, a child is killed in his or her mother's womb. And the mother and the father are paying someone to destroy piece by piece that little tiny human being. Every year, over 40 million unborn babies are killed in the womb of the mother. But that death decree that is coming will try to wipe out as many people as possible, not just little boys and girls, taller boys and girls, teenagers and youth, and eventually even the adults. So if we know that there's another death decree that is coming to our children, then we need to prepare them. But also we need to prepare ourselves, because it's not going to be easy for parents to see the little ones suffering. That's going to be a difficult test to handle. But we need to prepare ourselves, and also the little ones and the youth and the teenagers. So if we come to that point where we have to say, yes, you can do whatever you want to do to my child, I will remain faithful to God. And the little one, you will say also, yes, I will remain faithful to God. That's why we need to prepare them, so they will remain faithful to God and His righteousness, even unto death, if necessary. So with that in mind, I want to go back to the book Adventist Home. And I want to continue reading to you about the prenatal influences. This is what it says. It says, if before the birth of her child she is self-sufficient, if she is selfish, impatient, exacting, these traits will be reflected in the disposition of the child. Thus, many children have received as birthright almost unconquerable tendencies to evil. I mean, this is serious again. He's telling us mothers, and listen once again, that if before the birth of a child she is self-indulgent, that means I do whatever I want to do, I do whatever I feel like doing, there's no principle to follow, I'm just going to do whatever comes to mind. If she's selfish, it's just all about me, I'm the number one, she's impatient and exacting, demanding, like a dictator, this traits will be reflected in the disposition of the child. You can see that today. Even little tiny babies, they cannot be still. They fuss and they move around and they cry for nothing. They are impatient already. They're trying to call attention to themselves. I want you to take care of me. I want to eat now. And if I don't get what I want, I'm going to cry until you give me what I want. Because the same traits that were in the mother, now we see them in the little ones. And notice it says many. not just a few here and then. And imagine if there were many 130 years ago, today that number is even higher. Many have received as a birthright almost unconquerable tendencies to evil. Mothers, we need to be careful. Because what you are now, if you are expecting a child, or if you are planning to become a mother, what you are during your pregnancy, you're going to see that again in your son or daughter throughout his life or her life, unless the grace of God will be able to correct those evil tendencies. I continue reading. It says, but if the mother adheres to right principles, if she is temperate and self-denying, it's the opposite. If she is kind, gentle, and unselfish, she may give her child these same precious traits of character. So we see two sides of the coin, the opposite and the negative. We already saw the negative, but now let's go to the other side of the coin. There is hope. This is a promise, mother, and it's a good one. Imagine if by the grace of God, the mother is willing to adhere to right principles. Principles that come out of this wonderful book. Principles that once again are repeated in these wonderful books. If she adheres to right principle, temperance is one of them. Temperance, that's an important one. Self-denying is not what I want, is what I need. I'm not going to do my will, I'm going to do the will of my God. It's not my agenda, it's God's agenda. If she's willing to do that, we just read, and also she's kind, gentle, tender, soft, and selfish, she may give her child these same precious traits. So it's important, the prenatal influences, very important. I continue reading. It says, great changes are going on in her system. He's talking about the mother that is pregnant. Of course, you have another human being inside of you, and that human being is growing. Great changes are really taking place. It requires a greater amount of blood, therefore an increase of food of the most nourishing quality to convert into blood. One important thing in your pregnancy is your diet. What are you eating? See, it says here, God is one saying that it requires an increase or a greater amount of blood, therefore an increase of food of the most nourishing quality. That means you're going to get the best of the best to eat. Plenty of fruits, plenty of vegetables, seeds, nuts, not refined food. There's little nutrient in them. Not also processed food that is not really nutritious anymore. You're not going to be drinking, sugary drinks that have very little nutrient but a lot of calories and sugar and junk in it. You're not going to be eating meat and cheese and milk. That's not for you. That milk is for the cow's boy or girl. It's not for you. You need to eat the best food available. And to make sure that you're eating enough, because you are feeding two human beings. You are feeding yourself and the little one as well. I continue reading. Unless she has an abundant supply of nutritious food, she cannot return her physical strength, and her offspring is robbed of vitality. What happens if you are pregnant and you're working 8 hours a day in somebody's company? You're going to be under stress. You have to get up early in the morning. Perhaps you have no time for a good breakfast, no time for communion with God. You have to rush to work. It takes you an hour. You are stressed, and then you have to be working there for 8 hours. You are walking around. You are standing all the time. You have no rest. At lunch, perhaps you have a sandwich for lunch, and then you get home, and you're tired. You don't want to cook, and perhaps you eat whatever you find around your home. That's not what God wants you to do. That's why you have to be at home. When you're pregnant, it's not time to be working from somebody else. Says it's time to be at home where you have peace, quietness, where you can relax, where you can rest sufficiently, where you have time to prepare nutritious food, where you can eat well done food. Then you can have strength. Nowadays, many women, instead of having a birth in a natural way, they have to have a C-section. They have no strength. It comes the time for the baby to be born, and it cannot happen. You don't have the strength to go through that. Then C-sections, which is not the best. I continue reading to you. It says, her clothing also demands attention. Care should be taken to protect the body from a sense of chilliness. She should not call vitality unnecessary to the surface to supply the want of sufficient clothing. That means that not only you have to take care of your nutrition, not only you have to be relaxed, you need to be with no stress. You need to be out in the country. That's where really you can rest. No noises. That's the place for you to be at, and then to raise a little one. It's the place to be. But also you have to take care of the way you dress. What happens if your extremities are cold? What happens to the body? Then the blood comes right here to the abdomen and the thorax. Then you feel chilly. You have a different temperature here than here. Here is higher than it's supposed to be, and in the extremities is lower than it's supposed to be. And that creates problems. So you have to dress properly. You have to dress for modesty, of course, but also for health. You have to take that into account. It's very important that you do that. I continue reading. If the mother is deprived of an abundance of wholesome, nutritious food, she will lack in the quality and quantity of blood. Perhaps you might have anemia. You don't have plenty of blood to go around, and perhaps the circulation is not well. It's barely going in the extremities because it's cold here and down here, and then it's hardly moving out here because there's too much of it, and it's too hot, too warm. Great care should be exercised to have the surrounding of the mother pleasant and happy. I mean, if you're in the city and you have noises left and right, ambulance, police, firemen, the music of your neighbors, cars, you cannot be quiet. You cannot be happy and pleasant. You're going to be stressed out. I mean, it's not a good place to have a little one born. Imagine when the baby is 5 months old. 5 months old. still 4 more months to go. Here, in your womb, he has the capacity to listen. That's why you see sometimes babies are kicking. They're stressed out. And they're not even born. Still in here. And they cannot handle it anymore. They're moving around and they're kicking and they're nervous. And we said, how could that be? We even laugh about it. It's nothing to be laughing about it because there's no quietness. What happens is the music that you listen to is loud and it's the wrong kind of music. What happens is the television set is on all the time and junk is coming out of it and he's listening to that junk. I mean, I know he does not understand what is being said, but the noise is bothering him. Just to give you an example, when that baby is born, and sometimes the father and the mother, they come close to him, you know what he does? He just do this. And then we said, oh, look at him. He's looking at me. Well, hold on. He's not quite looking at you. When a baby is born, his eyesight is not completely formed. His vision is blurred. He cannot really see very well yet. It's going to take a few months before he's able to see well. What he's doing when he's moving his head around is acknowledging, recognizing the voice that he used to listen to when he was in the womb. What happens if we sing to him? If we have family worship? What happens if we say nice things to each other? What happens if we praise the name of Jesus? Oh, then he's going to come out all right. What happens if we go out in the evening and we take him, just on his little car when he's born, and even before he's born, we go for a walk with our wives. That is blessing that little one that is about to be born. Let me continue reading because my time is almost up. It says, the husband and father is under a special responsibility to do all in his power to lighten the burden of the wife and mother. It's talking about when she's pregnant. I just read that we husband, at that moment, we are under a special responsibility to do all in my power, in your power, to lighten the burden of the wife and mother. That means that we need to get home after work and says, wife, don't worry, I'll take care of the dishes. Or perhaps I'll prepare a little supper for us. Or don't worry, I'll clean out the bathroom this week. It's difficult for you to be bending over and cleaning the toilet and the tub. No, I'll do that. I'll do it. It's my job now. What are we doing? We're making the surrounding of our wife a pleasant and happy surrounding. And she is enjoying that, and the little one as well. I continue reading. He should bear as much as possible the burden of her condition. He should be happy, courteous, kind, tender, and especially attentive to all her needs. So that's a special time for us, Father. We have a play to play. We have a role to play. It's not just working outside the home. It's coming home and lightening the burden of the wife and making her as happy as possible by being kind, by being tender, and especially paying attention to all her needs. Not half the care, and listen to this, is taken of some women while they are bearing children that is taken of animals in the stable. That cannot happen with us. Imagine you have animals who are being taken care much better than women. Not even halfway as animals. We need to go home and be that special father, because we're already fathers. And that woman that is pregnant is already a mother. We need to come home. And by the grace of God says, woman, wife, sweetheart, sweetie, whatever beautiful name we have for her, I'm here for you. I'm going to help you. You're going to be happy. And that little boy will born happy as well. There's a blessing that I want to read to you from the Word of God before I finish. And this one is taken from Psalms 128. And it says, blessed is everyone that feareth the Lord, that walketh in his way. For thou shalt eat the labor of thine hands. Happy shalt thou be, and it shall be well with thee. If we're willing to follow the principle, God will bless us, and it be well with us. Thy wife shall be as fruitful vine by the sides of thine house. Thy children like olive plants around about thy table. Behold, that shall the man be blessed that feareth the Lord. I pray that this promise will be true to you and to me. And I pray by the grace of God that the principles that have been presented will be implemented. And God will bless you. And He will bless me if we are willing to continue to walk with Him. May God bless you.